cricket and now basketball. Obviously, we'll have a broader conversation, but both of you come from a basketball background, spent many years in the NBA. And
just want to clarify, not playing in the NBA,
yes.
Working for the NBA.
Unfortunately,
you could have let the illusion stand, but I appreciate your honesty. But we're seeing so much in sticking with the NBA for a minute. We're seeing so much more international growth for the NBA players coming in. We're seeing Wemby dominating the playoffs right now, and so I wanted to now both of you kind of come at this, and this conversation is from the college perspective. I'm curious, I'd love for both of you to sort of set the stage, starting with you, Greg, on what that looks like from the college ecosystem in the US. It's obviously one of the most dominant kind of pipelines anywhere in the world into professional sport. But what does the international sort of feeder into that system look like?
Yeah, certainly. First of all, thank you for having me. The international dynamic has become a key part of the recruiting process for Division I high-level men's basketball programs and women's basketball programs in the United States. Agencies, people that have experience in the space understand that at the end of the day, with NIL agreements and things that have been put in place with the ability to compensate for name, image, and likeness, the NCAA has become the second highest paying league in the world, behind the NBA, even surpassing the EuroLeague and the other options that young athletes would have. So from the perspective of the value it has from their end for development and their goals of reaching the NBA as players, it makes a lot of sense. And then from our end, as programs that are trying to win basketball games, it's the highest level of elite talent. At Georgetown University, it obviously appeals being an international university, being a place based in Washington, D.C., where we can continue to grow that and take advantage of what we have to offer academically, socially, and then obviously from a developmental standpoint in a basketball capacity. So, we try to take advantage of all those things, but it's an important piece of what we do now as coaches and in my role, general manager.
Right.
Yeah, and we look at it from more the policy and the immigration perspective, because of course, in order for an international student athlete to be in the United States, they have to have a visa. And so the F1 visa is the most commonly utilized, which is for a student. However, this is a perfect microcosm, a perfect example of kind of a 20th century immigration system that's not really built for the 21st century that we're now existing in. And so you have these kids, as Greg said, the second highest paying basketball league in the world is NCAA. The WNBA just went through a transformational collective bargaining agreement negotiation that's leading to record salaries for women's basketball, which it's deserved and should be arguably higher. But there's still women making more money staying in the NCAA. So to the immigration piece now, you essentially are creating this dynamic where you have international student athletes who are here on student visas who are not authorized to work, yet making millions of dollars. And so you hear a lot the reference to this being the Wild West around NIL and the regulation or the lack thereof. And it's something that we have to get our arms around as a country, because ultimately it's the kids, it's the young people who are putting themselves in harm's way to either run afoul of immigration law or potentially be dinged down the road for being out of status or working out of status.
Right. And if you could just briefly explain to the audience what NIL means. Of course, it stands for name, image, likeness, but kind of just the broader sort of conversation around that and what it means, either of you.
Yeah, certainly. So the context in which we frame our agreements with the athletes is a marketing services agreement. So we're not technically compensating for play. That's still forbidden by the NCAA. You cannot compensate based on play. You can't compensate on how many points or rebounds an athlete gets in a given game. However, you can create a marketing services agreement around what their social media presence might look like, or what their interactions with our fan base and our donor base may look like. Each university obviously is trying to navigate what that looks like. Obviously, football on a campus, the quarterback may have a different profile than the offensive lineman, simply because of the popularity and the notoriety of that position. But we frame our contextual agreements around the way in which we value them in terms of a marketing value, and we try to estimate that in a way that is sufficient in working with now that they're representatives and all the things that come with that. So obviously there's layers to it, but at the end of the day, it's an ability to compensate them for what value we believe they provide to the university as a whole. And, and obviously it gets competitive in terms of what that might look like between university to university in the recruiting process.
Yeah. So, Travis, you mentioned the sort of F1 visa issues and the pathway. That's seeming kind of harder than ever right now under the Trump administration. We've seen in general immigration get much harder across the board, but you see student numbers dropping from countries around the world. How is that impacting kind of the college sports recruitment pipeline?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing, and even coming up this summer, we're going to see kind of a collision between the desire on the part of the current administration to reduce the number of international students that are in American universities. Both Trump and Vance and others in the administration have said this is a priority, and I think in our work with the State Department, we get the sense that there's just this general understanding that they should approve less student visas. But at the same time, there's never been more international student athletes wanting to come to the United States because of the opportunities financially that provides to them. And so, there's a hearing that's actually going on right now on Capitol Hill on a bill that would, seek to provide some more governance to the college sports space. But unfortunately, that legislation as written doesn't address the international student athlete kind of conundrum that they're facing. And so I think that's going to be a continued it's just going to be an area that has to be addressed eventually because it's going to eventually kind of collide with this current administration's policy.
And Greg, is that something you're seeing in your position? Like, has it been more of a struggle to has that talent pool reduced for you that you're able to tap into?
Yeah, it's a twofold question. So there's a restructuring and a re-governance in terms of how the NCAA wants to kind of oversee these international players that have come in, particularly those with some older experience, older players who have had some experience within professional leagues overseas. So there's kind of, as we go, the hard part is a lot of this is on the fly, and we're trying to make sure that we're adhering to the ever-changing, evolving kind of governance that's coming from the NCAA itself. Understanding that they have a lot on their plate and they have a lot being thrown at them, and in each individual case is unique. Each country has its own logistical issues. Each visa, entrance into the United States has its own issue. So there's that part of it. We try our best to stay abreast of the political landscape with what visa acquisition, with the ability to study in the United States might look like. You got to be cognizant, to your point, of what's going on and would you recruit an athlete, spend time, resources in trying to get an athlete, and then have them be, maybe denied the ability to come to the United States. So, we're trying to navigate that as best we can. Relying on people like Travis and those who have expertise in the area. But it's what everyone's trying to figure out a little bit on the fly. And then the programs that have had success, the University of Illinois, as an example, went to the Final Four in college basketball. College basketball coaches are creatures of following the trend of success. So that's kind of become the hot thing right now, is to approach the ability to fulfill your program in that way.
But I'd also note that the oldest, I looked this up last night, the oldest player last year in Division I basketball was 29 years old. He wasn't a freshman, he was a sophomore. But then, there were a number of teams in the NCAA tournament where the average age trended more towards 24, 25 years old. And so that I think, is part of the issue too, is you have people who have effectively played professionally overseas for multiple seasons, have signed contracts. Now we're seeing people that participated in the G League or Summer League, and now they have years of eligibility because that's not been removed from, they've not necessarily violated anything. So now they can come back in and utilize those years of eligibility.
And that's leading to kind of more backlash from the administration in the sense that there's a perception that they're kind of gaming the system.
Yeah, I think there's kind of two schools of thought. One is just that these are international professionals are now coming in and taking college roster spots that could ostensibly go to American college students, right? So that kind of American first mentality is part of the argument. The other side, though, is that it's just there's no regulation in the system. The NCAA has increasingly relied on Congress to try and address the challenges they have around governance. And since 2021, there's been 40 different pieces of legislation introduced in Congress, none of which that have passed either chamber, that effectively would provide governance to the NCAA. In today's hearing that I mentioned that's happening right now, you've got Nick Saban, the former head coach of Alabama football, and others testifying, is just the latest iteration of a bill.
Right. So, Craig, the other part of this conversation, you mentioned like NIL is so much about like marketing likeness, the players as sort of people, their social media posts. The other sort of pressure from this administration on students in general has been for those social media posts, and the stakes are so much higher for an international student, where if they're posting about the Israel-Palestine conflict, if they're posting about kind of the Iran war, and that has led to actual consequences, students getting kicked out, visas deported. How do you navigate that conversation with your student athletes, and are the overseas student athletes now just more self-censoring, more careful about what they say because it could jeopardize this whole what they've come here to do?
That's an excellent question. So there's twofold. So we have the American athletes and the American players who, to a point, are in a bubble a little bit, don't have an understanding of what the impact of social media may have from a purely living standpoint. And to your point, our international students are conscious of that. They understand that their social medias have to be open and public, unlike an American who can keep it private and keep kind of monitor over who has access to their private information. So I think there is a little bit of more of an understanding from those players and those athletes who come into the United States having, been told and advised along the way about the severity of what might come with